What's going on, everybody? LK here. We're going to talk about manlets today. Heightism in fighting games? I don't know. Weird. Most of the time when you see people talk about height and stuff, like I follow a lot of like fitness YouTubers like Lord William Tennyson, my boy. No, not my boy. I don't know this guy. Actually, you know, in those spaces, one thing they talk about a lot is height. The benefits of being taller, shorter. You get like a little boost, just like in the game. You get a little boost for being taller, you get a little boost for being shorter. But it exists in fighting games as well. It's a huge part of fighting games. One thing that I've noticed in more recent times especially is that people really don't like short characters. They hate fighting against short characters. I've heard people call short characters rats.
Jesus Christ, the rat.
So in today's video, I want to dig into why people don't like fighting against short characters. So first off, small means moves can whiff on them. This implicitly means that these characters can navigate spaces that larger characters would struggle at. So, for example, we got Goldlewis here. Goldlewis does not matter. This will just never hit Geo. And similarly, she can just run under this. Many characters can run under this move though. The good news is this is not that common in Guilty Gear Strive. So this comes up in Exert as well. So this was some pretty common Faust vs. Amelia counterplay as Amelia, where you can just run under moves, where if I walked into it, I would just get hit. I could also run under this as well. You could even use this as a more advanced counterplay to deal with some of Faust's situations. So I actually have 3 recordings here with Faust. So the first one is this, where he throws the item. So here I'm going to be dashing like that. So for example number 2, he's going to be doing this. So we're going to make sure we instant block, and then this is what happens when we dash, which means that you would get a combo of whatever sort. And in recording number 3, we have this. So on random, we can practice blocking this and doing the appropriate action. And it's pretty strong depending on the distance you're at, especially because you have plenty of time to see what he's doing, and he doesn't have a lot of options off this move. So you get to take advantage of being small and fast here to limit his options, which is definitely annoying for your opponent. So I'm going to show you a tactic, a pretty advanced one actually, that was so strong that it got removed. I want to say there's still like one way you can still use this tactic, but overall it's been removed. So this is the idea that comes from this. So in most fighting games, when you switch to low guard from high guard in block stun, even though what we see is the character crouching, if they're in block stun, they're still kind of stuck there for a little bit. So you can come up with offensive sequences that would not normally work. And this tends to work on taller characters more than small characters. So here it is again. The only reason why he's blocking it in this version is because I'm making him. If I was to try to do this to Gotenks, I can't even get to the point where I get the jump medium. Or even Roshi here, same thing. So what they made a change to rising attacks to make this not work though. But in the majority of fighting games, 2D fighting games I should say, this tactic is a thing. How good it is definitely depends on the character and situation, but this always hurts tall characters. It doesn't usually affect short characters. Usually you can't even do this to short characters. So I have a memory in myself of playing a team Bardock, Trunks, Yamcha, where I was like, how do I do mix-ups with Bardock? He like can't do any mix-ups this version. And it led me to doing this a lot. There were a lot of tall characters that were somewhat popular, like Jiren came out at the time, people were playing Vegito, people were still playing Cell. So I found myself using this, honestly, any chance I could get. So running into a small character like GT Goku or Kid Buu was always a pain, because it was just harder to mix them up than normal. While we have these two out here, another reason why people don't really like short characters is they're not like power types. So power types like Broly, they tend to just have like the same normal kit of like, oh, I have big moves, I look at my big buttons, and all, like I have a couple of like super armor things. Broly himself has one thing that requires some counterplay, but they made it a little easier to play against. Where meanwhile, smaller characters tend to have tricky mechanics that have really specific counterplay, and if you don't learn how to fight against it, then it could be a real struggle. With Gotenks, an example would be, rest in peace to Ghost. So this was the thing that carried me before I stopped playing the game. So the idea of this move is when you do it, you have these 4 ghosts out, and they release when you let go of a button. So if I release the light button, heavy button, medium button, and then key blast button. So because of this, he's really flexible with his offense, and you could create situations like this where you just protect yourself and you have this that he gets to mix up by himself. And the responses are not only like tricky and very specific to the situation, but if you don't play him, you have to learn how to do it, or someone has to tell you how to do this the right way so you can practice against it. You can't just boot up and be like, oh, I've seen this, let me write this down on a piece of paper and then try it. You have to sit there and practice it until you get it right so that you can practice the counterplay. I would say this one is not exclusive to short characters though. There are other characters that tend to be like this. Other characters that I've played, you know, like I played Lai Chi Fei Ling before. She had a bunch of stuff that if you didn't know how to do, you couldn't practice against it. Milia also, if you don't know how to do her stuff, then you won't know like what to practice against and how to stop stuff. But short characters do tend to have this as well. So the last reason, sometimes, honestly pretty often, because the short character is so short, that means their hurt box can be very difficult to hit for some characters. And they've been doing a good job of fixing this over time. So I had to actually dig up a pretty old example. So once again, I had to boot up the BBCT. So here I have an example with Lai Chi, my original Blaze Blue main. So this is her basic corner B&B that she's doing right now. It's a pretty cool combo. So she attacks both by herself and with the staff to do this combo. Now, the only thing is that this combo is basically impossible on Carl, because that kick will always miss. It's pretty annoying to get her 6C, that 2-hitting kick, to hit on him just period, and in that part of the combo, it just always drops. There is a fix, thankfully, where you do this, jump BC into land, into more buttons, in order to get the same type of routing. So what ends up happening is that the baseline of being able to fight characters that are small is just higher, because you have to generally learn combos specifically to hit them. Usually, bigger characters have the opposite, where they're pretty easy to combo, so easy that you might get special combos that only work on them, that do more damage, so that's supposed to be your incentive for learning the harder combo. But for characters like this, just to do the same or maybe slightly less damage, you have to alter your routes, and depending on the type of character you're playing, this can be quite the hill to climb. But yeah, those are the main reasons I find people tend to be mean to short characters. These guys are not rats though. Small characters have been my friends, even though they can be a little annoying to play against. Let me know how you feel though. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.